Huwag yung kayong magkadisgrasyahan tayo niyan. Sinasabi ko madidisgrasya kayo. At madidisgrasya kayo. Hindi ako urong dito. And I said, I would stake my honor, my life, and even the presidency.
Good morning, Malacañang Press Corps sa ating mga bisita. Kasama na po natin si Task Force Bangon Marawi Chair Secretary Eduardo De Rosario. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sige.
Okay, to the members of the Malacañang Press Corps, under Secretary Lucilagan of the SWD, under Secretary Ace Millar of HADSI, magandang umaga sa ating lahat. Task Force Marawi will now, Bangon Marawi will now give an update of our interventions in Marawi City, and after that we are ready for Q&A. The updates will be presented by Undersecretary Ace Millar. Ace, please.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today, for another Bangon Marawi press briefing, we are joined, of course, by the Task Force Bangon Marawi Chair, Secretary Eduardo De Rosario, and the SWD, Yusek Lusa Ilagan. To start with long list of some good news, the Kalinaw Kultura Mindanao, a culture of peace, a peace through culture, was recently launched in Iligan City to promote the diverse culture in Mindanao, nurturing the sense of unity and peace among Mindanaoans. This was conducted by the Philippine Information Agency in partnership with the National Commission for Culture and the Arts. The Information Management and Strategic Communication Support Group of Task Force Bangon Marawi showcased the interventions and rehabilitation efforts of the government for Marawi through a photo exhibit during the conduct of the 4-day Kalinaw Kultura sa Mindanao. In this event, Maranao products were also displayed to promote the culture and tradition of Marawi residents. Let's watch the video.
Information Management and Strategic Communication Support Group of Task Force Bangon Marawi showcased the interventions and rehabilitation effort of the government for Marawi through a photo exhibit. The TFBM exhibit made a presence at Robinson's Place, Iligan from July 26 to 29 during the conduct of Kalinaw Kultura. Being one of the partners of the event, TFBM aims to highlight its efforts for rebuilding a peaceful community for the Maranaos. A television was also put up to show the various services of TFBM in partnership with different private organizations in helping the affected residents for their recovery. Maranao products were also showcased. Among of these include the Arkat, Alawanin Marawi icon dolls for peace made by the Maranao women affected by the siege with the aim to promote the culture and traditions of Maranao society. Castro also reiterated that consultations and dialogues were conducted with different stakeholders of Marawi from April to May, wherein their inputs were considered for the development plan of the city. Kalinaw Kultura is a 4-day event spearheaded by the Philippine Information Agency in partnership with the National Commission for Culture and Arts, Local Government Unit of Iligan City, TFBM, Department of Education, Mindanao State University Main Campus, MSU Iligan Institute of Technology, Robinson's Place Iligan, DTI, Philippine National Police, Kulturismo, among others. The grand launch of Kalinaw Kultura held in Iligan City is one of the kind in the Philippines as it brings together different ethnicity in order to strengthen the unity of culture despite differences in traditions, ethnic groups, and religions, including clothing and cuisines. In his message, Undersecretary Harold E. Clavite of PIA emphasized the significance of the event as it creates an intensive campaign for cultural peace and unity. Kalinaw Kultura promotes cultural awareness through various performances of legendary Mindanao theater groups and artists, a competition featuring the dances of Muslim and indigenous peoples communities, a talk show discussing about culture, photo exhibits by TFBM and Kulturismo, product exhibits for Iliganon products and contemporary artists, and puppet shows. Together with Lou Antonio, Sweet Lukman, Philippine Information Agency.
on Department of Agriculture livelihood assistance updates. The Department of Agriculture distributed farm inputs and equipment to provide livelihood assistance to the crisis-affected farmers of Marawi City. Agriculture Secretary Emmanuel Piñol was present during the launching of the farm mechanization program and the turnover of a special area for agriculture development projects for the war-torn city, recognizing the need of the internally displaced farmers to immediately revive their livelihood. For the updates on livelihood and jobs opportunities, on the 18th of July, the Department of Trade and Industry spearheaded the Marawi Entrepreneurs Forum and Job Fair in collaboration with the different stakeholders and other member agencies under the Task Force Bangon Marawi's Subcommittee on Business and Livelihood. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez presented the different interventions provided by the DTI in support to the rehabilitation of Marawi City and the recovery of its residents. DTI also awarded 500 livelihood starter kits, certificates worth 15,000 pesos each to the IDPs. The Department of Labor and Employment, on the other hand, led the conduct of the job fair, inviting Marawi residents to apply for more than 3,000 job vacancies during the event. Backing up those who will be hired during the job fair, the Department of Social Welfare and Development will also provide at least 5,000 pesos cash assistance to support the processing of their required hiring documents. On IDP transitory houses, about 60 IDP families received transitory houses at the Angat Buhay Village located in Barangay Sugunsongan, Marawi City. Vice President Lenny Robredo led the turnover ceremony along with Marawi Mayor Mahul Usman Gandamra, Xavier University Ateneo de Cagayan President Father Roberto C. Yap, SJ, and Metro Stone Ridge Corporation. This is the contractor, and the Chief Operating Officer Eliseo Aureliado, and other partners of the housing project for internally displaced persons. Each house in Angat Buhay Village has a floor area of 24 square meters, a provision for kitchen sink, restroom, yards, and a rainwater catchment. The design and construction of the houses were provided pro bono by the United Architects of the Philippines, Quezon City Elliptical Chapter, and Metro Stone Ridge Corporation, respectively. Through the same source of fundings, another 40 houses are expected to be built at the Angat Buhay Village in addition to the 60 houses that were already transferred. As additional information, the local government unit of Marawi secured the site in Barangay Sagunsongan for the Angat Buhay Village as well as the light and water connection. The area development activities had been undertaken with funding assistance from the Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao and Task Force Bangon Marawi. On surgical healthcare project, in commitment to support the recovery of the residents affected by the conflict rage in Marawi City, members of the Duterte Cabinet Spouses Association Incorporated sponsored and organized a 3-day surgical mission that intends to serve patients who needed surgical operations within the war-torn city and its neighboring districts. About 45 pediatric patients aged 1 to 18 years old were treated with conditions such as hernia, hycoeli, cordy, Hirschsprung's diseases, imperforate anus, ovarian cyst, closure of colostomy, minor surgery under sedation, and majority of the cases are cleft lips and palate. Also, the doctors and staff of Amay Pakpak Medical Center, in collaboration with the medical team of World Surgical Foundation, Philippines, and Udena Group, worked closely to make the surgical outreach a success. The CABSEC Spouses Association visited the Amay Pakpak Medical Center for the launching of the surgical healthcare project. On countering violent extremism, the Mindanao Development Authority, in partnership with the Association of Political Science Students of Liceo de Cagayan University, conducted a forum entitled Preventing Violent Extremism, Revisiting the Lessons of Marawi Siege, a CMO Perspective, which aims to establish an inclusive and non-violent approach to preventing extremism while pursuing sustainable peace and development throughout Mindanao. Around 300 students and academic partners from Northern Mindanao attended the said forum. Joint Task Force Now Deputy Commander Colonel Romeo Browner Jr. of the Armed Forces of the Philippines was invited to share about the various lessons and findings of the task force from last year's Marawi crisis. Currently, the Armed Forces of the Philippines is doing all efforts to prevent similar attacks anywhere within the Mindanao area and even countering violent extremism. Also, the AFP appealed to the public to become vigilant in possible recruitment of the Maute remnants. On ensuring quality education for learners of Marawi, to assist the cause of Department of Education, DepEd Marawi City Division, to delivering quality education to their students victimized by the war-raged city, the Task Force Bangon Marawi turned over portable amplifiers and lapels to the teachers of Marawi Central Elementary Pilot School, which is a temporary learning space in Barangay Sagunsongan transitional site where over 900 internally displaced students are currently enrolled. On moral recovery and psychosocial intervention, to ensure that all the IDPs currently staying in Sarimanok 10 City in Marawi City are comfortable and secured with their living conditions, several preparations have been done to enhance the IDPs' current situation. On August 14, the Task Force Bangon Marawi conducted a moral recovery and psychosocial intervention program at the Biyaya ng Pagbabago Transitional Shelter Site in Barangay Sagunsongan, Marawi City. Along with it, the Department of Social Welfare and Development also continues the distribution of relief assistance to the IDPs. On upgrading the project of Sarimanok tents, Task Force Bangon Marawi is currently into upgrading project of Sarimanok 10 City Site 1 and 2 in collaboration with its member agencies. Office of the Civil Defense ARMM donated insulators for the new tents. The SWD Region 12 donated new tents and provided a cash for work assistance for the IDPs related to the upgrade of the tents, while the SWD Region 10 provided construction materials such as nails, tie wire, and additional tarps. The local government of Marawi City will be purchasing bamboos. The Task Force Bangon Marawi and IOM will be supervising the ongoing implementation of this upgrade project. On social healing and peace building for Marawi City, the Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace Process conducted a two-day inception meeting with 72 barangay chairpersons of Marawi City and 10 partners from civil society organization held in Cagayan de Oro City. This activity is part of the agency's intervention on social healing and peace building program for Marawi that includes the conduct of the capacity development for barangay functionaries, helping them to craft an efficient, conflict-sensitive, and peace-promoting barangays development plan. The OPAP also continues its town hall meetings to help Marawi stakeholders raise their issues, concerns, and aspirations regarding rehabilitation of conflict-affected communities. At this point, we would like to present two videos covering the accomplishments and of the Task Force Bangon Marawi.
Declare Marawi City liberated from the terrorist influence that marks the beginning of rehabilitation of the city.
Task Force Bangon Marawi leads the comprehensive and integrated rehabilitation of Marawi City and the surrounding areas to rebuild communities left devastated by the Marawi siege. The 5 months of fighting between the military and the Maute ISIS group resulted to 11.5 billion in damages and 6.7 billion in economic losses. The Marawi siege devastated the country's only Islamic city and halted agricultural and trade activities, affecting the way of life of the people of Marawi and the surrounding areas. Less than a month after the siege started, Task Force Bangon Marawi was formed in cooperation with the Marawi City Government, the Provincial Government, and ARMM. The task force improved access to basic services, created economic opportunities, strengthened capacities to help 353,636 displaced persons, As of August 2018, about 84% of IDPs have either returned home or moved to transitory shelters, and will continue to help all displaced families rebuild their lives in peace, progress, and dignity. With a 5 billion peso budget in 2017, TFBM delivered recovery assistance in 5 areas. Reconstruction. Cleared and improved road access towards and within Marawi. Built pathways, drainage systems, and slope protection in transitory sites and evacuation centers. And water supply for families in evacuation centers. Housing. Task Force Bangon Marawi improved the well-being and safety of families. Electricity and water services are activated. 935 homes completed and awarded. In 2018, about 8,123 homes will be built, 4,500 permanent shelters, and 3,623 transitory shelters. Task Force Bangon Marawi secured the health and welfare of families. Task Force Bangon Marawi also made sure to secure the health and welfare of children. Task Force Bangon Marawi with the local government continue to facilitate the safe return of families, including the safe visitation of 11,163 displaced families in the most affected areas. Task Force Bangon Marawi improved food security and boosted income by providing livelihood programs, skills training, and employment. As well as restarted market access. And released zero-interest loans. Security, peace, and order. Task Force Bangon Marawi established rule of law and secured communities. While these service deliveries improved socio-economic recovery, TFBM's land resource management led research and assessments, including surveys of more relocation sites and baselines for land ownership. TFBM efforts were also reinforced by the information management and strategic communications, finance and resource mobilization, and legal groups. As we move into the final quarter of 2018, TFBM is rolling out the Comprehensive Rehabilitation and Recovery Program and is finalizing the MAA Rehabilitation Plan with the people of Marawi, so the task force can strategically implement comprehensive and well-coordinated recovery efforts that respond to the priority needs, aspirations, and religion and customs of the people of Marawi. In 2018, TFBM will continue to lead the long road to recovery and rehabilitation, but will need concerted efforts of communities and development partners to ensure that displaced families can immediately return home and build a stronger Marawi and Lanao del Sur that is full of economic opportunities, open to all ethnic and religious groups, and closed to violent extremism.
I will see to it that Marawi will rise as a prosperous city again.
On the indicative timeline, we would like to present another video. A 2-minute video, please. On the indicative rehabilitation timeline of the most affected area, the Bangon Marawi Selection Committee is currently undergoing negotiations with Power China, and we expect to complete the negotiation by next week, by the end of next week. And with this timeline, with this schedule, we expect the groundbreaking by third week of September. I now give the floor to Luz Ilagan, Yusek Luz Ilagan of DSWD.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusek. With regard what DSWD is doing so far, as of July 31, 64,364 families have already returned. That is out of the 77,170 families that were displaced. That constitutes 83% of the IDPs. But there are still evacuation centers that are being maintained, and we have 1,675 families in these centers. Among the home-based IDPs, there's a total of 11,131. But the DSWD is continuing with its services. Aside from the food and the relief that we still give, we have provided assistance, as mentioned earlier, with a 5,000 cash assistance for people who are now processing their papers so that they can have the employment that they want. The food packs are still being given for Ramadan, and we have food and non-food assistance, of course, cash for work for the people who help us in building the houses and also in clearing the areas. The 4 Ps, or the Pantawid Pamilya Conditional Cash Transfer, is still being distributed to the inhabitants who happen to be beneficiaries, but the conditionalities have been waived. So unlike the other 4 Ps beneficiaries who still have to undergo the conditions, those in Marawi no longer have to comply, and this would be until December. So the assistance is ongoing. We have given kitchen kits, family kits, hygiene kits, and also sleeping kits for those who have moved out of the centers and gone to Marawi. And so far, this would be the update, no? And the Task Force Bangon Marawi is where we belong. And so we work together with the other agencies, especially with regard livelihood and training, so that the identified IDPs can avail of the services provided also by other agencies of government.
Thank you, Lucy Lagan. Thank you, DSWD Undersecretary Ilagan. We now open the floor for questions.
MBC questions, Celerina, microphone.
Good morning po. Good noon. Regarding po dun sa groundbreaking by third week of September, hindi po ba masyadong delay na ang government? Kasi you first targeted May and several months have passed and right now wala pang, I think, major development dun sa main battle area before.
Well, I agree with you. Before we said that the groundbreaking will be as early as May, but because of numerous issues we encountered during the procurement process, so nagkakaroon tayo ng pagbabago with regards to the groundbreaking. So we are now saying that it will be on September 19, the groundbreaking, but it will not affect our target deadline of completing the most affected area rehabilitation by December of 2021. We are doing this to ensure that we will get the right developer and the right specifications will be met with the right standards that we would like to have to ensure that the MAA rehabilitation will be in accordance with the standard that we have set.
Sir, ano ba specifically yung naging issues? Bakit ganon na ka-delay? And same contractor pa rin ba itong mga Chinese na consortium na to?
Before, we were negotiating with the Bagong Marawi Consortium. And because of our issues on legal, financial, and technical capacity of the developer, we declared an unsuccessful negotiation because they were not able to comply with all the required technical, financial, and legal requirements. So we shifted, since we have declared unsuccessful negotiation, we are now negotiating with the second developer, which is China Power. And so far, I was informed by the selection committee, headed by Undersecretary Ace Millar, that the negotiation is moving on smoothly. And as stated earlier during his briefing, it will be completed by the end of next week.
So sir, yung before na, di ba meron ditong dalawa, I think na Chinese companies na blacklist dati ng World Bank. So hindi na sila or kasama pa rin sila?
They are not included anymore. And I would like to clarify that blacklisting has no relevance with the negotiation because they were cleared already by World Bank as early as 2012, 2013. And they have projects in other countries, World Bank projects. So wala yung blacklisting ang issue. It was not the issue.
But sir, in short, out na sila?
Yes, the whole group kasi we proceeded to the next developer.
How much po ngayon? Nabago ba yung figure kung magkano yung for this entire rehabilitation of that area?
As of now, it's about 16.8 billion. But the nitty-gritty of the negotiation on the details, it will be undertaken starting today, and we hope to complete it by next week.
Pia Gutierrez.
Sir, nabanggit po doon na yung cost of clearing the debris is 3 billion pesos. Who is doing the clearing, sir?
We are negotiating with one developer to undertake all the sub-projects.
Ano po yung mga nakikita natin na mga problema po dito sa clearing, aside from yung sheer volume ng debris na kailangan po na i-clear? And also, I understand kasi dati, sir, ang AFP have been doing the clearing of the debris. So, ano po yung magiging papel nila once na pumasok na yung developer na yun?
With regards to the unexploded ordinances, still the AFP will be there to assist the developer for safety reasons. And we were informed by the developer that they have the capability to detect unexploded ordinances. So once they have detected, the AFP is there to assist them for the safe recovery of those unexploded ammunitions.
Where do we plan to put all the debris, sir? Or meron po ba tayo nakikita na at least opportunity for us to at least kumita doon sa mga debris na makukuha natin?
In the eastern portion of the most affected area, there is what they call there as cove in 3 barangays. We will use that as the dumping site. And before the debris will be dumped, it will be treated. We will be providing sheet piles so that this site can be used for other purposes by the lot owners or even by the city government.
Last na lang, sir, gano'ng kalaki yung volume?
It's about 8 to 10 million tons.
Thank you, sir.
Marisa Lalini.
Hi, sir. Good morning. Sir, will you still push through with the Swiss challenge?
That is another issue that we have to address, and we were told by some government agencies that not all projects stated in the minimum development requirement can be categorized to be under the joint venture agreement. If it's a joint venture agreement, it will proceed to Swiss challenge. Now, we are identifying projects. We would like to separate it so that we will, instead of the joint venture agreement that will proceed to Swiss challenge, we would rather apply the negotiated procurement.
Why is that, sir?
In the joint venture agreement, it is presumed that you have a project that will be income generating. So that is the main reason why we are having a joint venture agreement, that after the completion of a project, it will become a profitable venture, and the government and the proponent will share in the profit. Since not all projects in the rehabilitation can be considered as profit-generating activity, then we have to separate that. And we are now doing the separation.
And kung just in case, sir, na hindi na tayo mag-push through with the Swiss challenge, I
We
understand
will, we will.
Okay.
But others that would be required a joint venture agreement. In other projects that will not require, it will be a negotiated procurement.
And how will it affect the timeline, sir, if ever?
I think it will be faster because it will not be subjected to Swiss challenge anymore.
Okay, Celerina Denpia.
Sir, out of this 16.8 billion, mga around how much doon yung magiging mag-a-apply ng negotiated procurement na lang tayo, and alin doon yung magsuswiss challenge? And if ever, doon sa negotiated procurement, don't you think it's prone to corruption?
Yun ang main reason kung bakit ever since I would like to pursue a joint venture agreement that will proceed to Swiss challenge. We have a very long debate on this. 3 times already, I presented myself to justify my case of having a joint venture agreement. But other members of the selection committee and observers wouldn't agree with our position that we negotiate using joint venture agreement and proceed with the Swiss challenge because they were saying it is illegal. So we were told by one agency that we should separate sub-projects that will be for emergency procurement or negotiated procurement, and separate that projects that will be applicable for joint venture agreement. Now, how do we make a safeguard? In the first developer, they propose a 21.8 billion project cost using the joint venture agreement. And after a very meticulous negotiation with the Bagong Marawi Consortium, it was down to 15.7 billion only. So we were then ready for the awarding of original proponent status and eventual Swiss challenge. But we were told we cannot proceed because the joint venture agreement is not applicable to the project. And secondly, as I have stated earlier, the legal, financial, and technical capacities of the developer were put into question. So we are now, what I am saying now is that we have undertaken the necessary steps already to ensure that this will not be too high or too low. And in the second developer, we are seeing a good negotiation because in the original developer, Bagong Marawi Consortium, it was 21.8 and went down to 15.7. In the second developer, it was 16.8, but is still to undergo negotiation. So we will know at the end of next week what would be the final outcome of our negotiation. And that will be the basis of our awarding.
Sir, how sure are you na itong second developer would really push through with the project considering na we all know naman na hindi naman nga siya income generating. So why not like take another mode like ODA, ganun. Wala bang ganun kino-consider? Why pursue with this joint venture?
There are two modes being proposed to us by the PPP Center, and that is to apply the build, operate, transfer. That will take 20 months to process, and negotiated procurement. The PPP Center and other agencies are on board in the negotiation process, so they are guiding us. And we have government technical experts like DPWH. We have ADB experts assisting us during the selection process. So there is a check and balance mechanism during this negotiation.
Okay, last question na tayo, Pia.
Sir, could you give us an idea kung ilang percentage po ng total rehabilitation contract will be under JV, and then ilang percentage po yung of the rehabilitation will be put under Swiss Challenge?
Okay, Yusek Ace Millar is the chairman of the selection committee. He has a better grasp of the internal workings.
Dun sa, just for clarification, no? Dun sa ating minimum development requirements, 22 components ito. So, base dun sa isinabit na position paper ng PPP Center, 14 components ang hindi papasok dun sa joint venture agreement at 8 components dun sa joint venture agreement. Ang suggestion ng PPP Center is to stretch out possibilities dun sa 14 components other than the joint venture agreement. Sinabi nga nila, yung 9184 under the negotiated procurement or the BOT modality.
So pinag-iisipan pa, sir, kung BOT or negotiated procurement? Hindi pa sure?
Yung direksyon na yan, ang ating tinatahak ngayon, whether to take negotiated contract or 9184. The only problem kasi with regular procurement is that it would take more than 22 months to process. So yung sinabi nga ni Chairman De Rosario kanina, the most expeditious will be negotiated procurement, which is also proposed by the PPP Center. And with regard to transparency, dumaan na to ng selection process ng technical working group. Kasi ito ang pinropose ni Chairman De Rosario na hindi lamang basta nag-submit ang isang proponent, siya na yung original proponent base sa unsolicited proposal. Ang sinabi ni Secretary De Rosario, to those interested to participate in the development of Marawi City, sabay-sabay kayong mag-submit, which they did. And ni-require namin sila na mag-submit at the same time, and we process that based on criteria. And the technical working group of the Bangon Marawi recommended two. Ito nga yung bagong Marawi Consortium and yung Power China. And the first proponent, having failed to comply with the legal, technical, and financial requirements, we proceeded with negotiation with the second developer. So dumaan na to ng proseso. Double Swiss challenge sana kung lahat ng components will be subjected to joint venture agreement. However, for those component, non-income generating components, we will try to thresh out the most expeditious modality for this one, and adapt the joint venture modality for those income generating components, which will be subjected to Swiss challenge.
So how soon can we proceed with the negotiated procurements or for the 14 components of the contract?
We will have to wait for the negotiated price with the current developer. Kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina, we expect to complete the negotiation with Power China by the end of next week.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Jinky?
Kay Chairman Del Rosario. Sir, kanina po kasi sinabi niyo that you justify and explain your position about this joint venture agreement for the Swiss challenge. Sir, what makes it illegal? Paki-explain naman so that we can understand it.
Sabi ko sa inyo, madugo yung proseso. No? Kung ako ang masusunod, last May pa kami nagsisimula. But ayoko ring makulong. Dahil sinasabihan ako ng other members na if we will do that, I might be charged in court. How I wish yung desire ng mga Maranaos na magsimula na ang rehabilitation. Ang dami ng batiko sa amin. Bakit daw napakabagal? Sabi ko nga, kung ako lang masusunod, last May pa nagsimula yan. Because I promised them May or June magsimula ng rehabilitation. Kung minsan nahihiya na ako humarap sa cabinet at mag-brief kay Presidente because of that delay. Pero we have to do everything by the books. Ayokong i-violate, but that at the end of the day, kami sa Task Force Bangon Marawi ang magkakaroon ng kaso, maybe after the term of the President.
What particular case is that, sir?
Ang sinasabi kasi, kasi, kung naman to open discussion. Sabi ko, ito, sabihin ko na yung mga inner na nangyayari para maklaro sa inyo. No? Sabi ko, ano ba ang kino-question nyo sa joint venture agreement? Binet na natin, nagkaroon tayo ng negotiated amount, isi-Swiss challenge pa natin. Bakit gusto pa natin yung ibang modality, let's say negotiated procurement, na ang bayad tayo mag-finance kaagad? Samantalang sa joint venture agreement, ang developer ang mag-provide ng lahat ng pondo at babayaran natin sa huli using a buyout option. Hindi raw pwede dahil ang project ay hindi profit generating project. Doon sa technicality na yun. How I wish i-Swiss challenge na kaagad para mas mapababa pa natin. So with that predicament, we were told that we are only allowed to do a negotiated procurement or build, operate, transfer. If we do BOT, it will take longer time. Negotiated will be shorter. So, as stated earlier, it might be open to corruption. That is why we have a baseline already, yung bagong Marawi result ng negotiation. We can compare this with the second developer. At our level, we know already the most appropriate amount na hindi tayo malulugi at favorable to the government whatever amount that we will be agreeing to at the end of the negotiation.
Sir, one last. You said po kasi that supposedly May kayo nag-start and then nag-start tayo by September na. No? So you said the deadline will still be the deadline for that. How will you ensure that you will meet your deadline?
We were assured by the first and second developer that they can do it in 3 years. So kaya ako hindi ako masyado nag-aapura dahil mahirap ibigay natin sa developer na papalpak naman dahil hindi matatapos at ang quality ay mahina. Ang gusto natin, tamang quality at matapos on time. Why? Because they have the capacity, financial capacity to undertake the project.
Last question, Joseph.
Sir, Secretary Del Rosario, last time you were here, you were already talking to China Power, no? And that time you announced that opening of the rehabilitation can be scheduled late August. But now, mukhang move tayo ng September 19. Sir, simplify natin for those who are in Marawi, no? Kasi ano ba talaga yung problema, sir?
Yun nga nasabi natin kanina.
To simplify, sir.
It's
So,
still the joint venture agreement kasi yun ang gusto ko para mabilis.
joint.
Ang problema, we had a meeting last week and I even requested the Office of the Executive Secretary, nagpadala siya ng senior legal officer
Apo.
to sit down with us.
So, ang final mode po natin will be
JBA and negotiated procurement.
okay.
So we are now, good thing, we have the base documents already and the process is ongoing. If it's completed by next week, and I was assured by Undersecretary Villar that they will complete it by next week, then we can immediately announce the outcome of this negotiation and our final timeline. Now we are saying it's indicative timeline.
So, September 19 may still be moved?
Maybe earlier, maybe
Oh, good.
a week later.
Okay. So, sir, yung working amount natin would be how much for the main battle?
If they have presented 16.8, before it's 15.7, 16 billion more or less.
For the whole, I mean,
For the
just the
most
MA?
affected area. Yeah. Yes, 16 billion more or less.
Okay, no more?
How much will be the government's labas ng pera? Sa atin na lahat yun, 16 billion. Tayo yung gagastos or yung developer?
It depends. If it's a negotiated procurement, the government invests immediately.
Okay.
If it's a joint venture agreement, it's the developer who will invest. Yun nga ang question ko eh. Bakit natin gusto pa itong tayo pa mag-i-invest? The same amount din naman. Bakit pa natin na
Maglalabas ng pera.
maglalabas ng pera after the completion saka natin bayaran? Yun ang posisyon ko. Illegal nga daw ang posisyon ko. So, I rest my case.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, maraming salamat Malacañang Press ko. Salamat Yusek Camillar, Yusek Ilagan, and thank you Secretary Del Rosario. Back to our main studio sa Radyo Pilipinas and People's Television Network.